And we're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
And this is Annabelle Lecter.
And we're joined by Jill Gevargizian, director of The Stylist.
Hello, everyone.
Well,
I'm excited to be back.
Yeah. By the way, no more Sixx.
Well, that's still, I'm happy to go by it by my nickname. I just wanted to use my real name as a director.
Oh, that's a good idea. I agree with that. By the way, so we've had you on many times, and all those times you had the Stylist short, you had a lot of other cool shorts, but always wanted to make the feature. So obviously it's a great feeling, but can you explain how that felt all those years trying to get it made, and then it's finally out there, runs festivals, it's on Shudder. I mean, it has to be very special.
It's very surreal. And it's everything. It's surreal. It's exciting. I'm so proud of everything that's happened. And it feels like it's also a strange feeling when I realized the movie was actually like about to make its first premiere. And this dawned on me like this journey's about to be over with Claire. She's been part since, like you said, the short.
Right.
We had a long time between. So this whole project's been part of my life for so long that I didn't know if I was ready to let it go. It's been so awesome.
Yeah. So in a weird way, I guess it's also, I don't want to say sad, but I guess there's a melancholy feeling to it too.
It's a weird, like, letting go of a thing that's you've been, part of you for so long, it feels like.
Yeah. Would you ever revisit Claire?
I probably would. That was not my intention from the beginning, but you could probably convince me to.
So when you first made the short, was it always the idea like, this is what I want to show for the feature? Was it always like, I want to make a feature, or did that come later?
I did know I always wanted to make a feature with that concept, but I just right away said, like, let's make a short first, because at the time I only directed one short film. I wanted to get some more experience for sure before I try to make that leap. And just from the Call Girl, my first to Stylist short was a huge leap for me. So it just felt like something we could do in both ways, that it wouldn't be like a stretching of the idea, but we would just like kind of give the basic of the concept in the short, and then I always knew it'd be like a character focused thing, that we would really get to know her much more in the feature. I also think I always knew it'd be like about kind of her descent into the end, so to speak.
Yeah.
It is so sad. I feel like she's, I like her. I like her. And then for these things to be happening, I feel sad for her. So I guess I like her, like the idea of who she wishes she could be, and then does all these horrific, terrible things because of all this dark psychological things that are going on for her. And I feel so sad for her.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. Because that was our goal, or my goal, that she'd be sympathetic. And I grew up loving sad movies, as morbid as that sounds. That was like my first love, and then horror, and I love the combination of the two. Mm-hmm. I also really like films with hopeful endings. I'm not just a sad, depressing person, but I've always loved tragic stories, and Romeo and Juliet did that to me when I was younger. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, there's something about Claire, you like Annabelle said, you feel sad for her because it's almost like she's not there, or she feels like she's not really important to anybody, or not even present. That's right at the beginning. She says, I can tell you things because it's almost like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like her biggest thing is that she lacks an identity of her own. So she just try to grab onto everyone else's and what she thinks she should be, or what she thinks other people might feel like, without ever really understanding herself.
Sometimes when I see a short or a feature that was originally a short, I'm always a little afraid, because sometimes like it's a great short, and then I see the feature and it's really just the short spread out to be a feature, and it doesn't really work. But this was clearly, you had an idea, and it's more than just what the short was.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
it was scary though to make the feature, because the short did pretty well, and you never know what people were hoping for it to be, or I know a lot of people wish we explained more, but we really held back in that way.
No, for me anyway, I prefer that. I like it better if you think, you come to your own conclusion how she got there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Was Najarra always on board to do the feature?
Yes. She's our freaking, I feel like this, the angel of the film, like this whole film would fall apart if we had the wrong performer in that role. Cause I knew that her actions were over the top and somewhat ridiculous if they're really thought about seriously, but I didn't want her to be played that way at all. So I was like, how do we ride this crazy line?
Right.
And I think it's thanks to her like performance. But when she agreed to do the short and we shot it, we were just so blown away by the way that she brought Claire to life. And I could have imagined doing the feature without her. Like if she was in fact, her and my main two producers who double as the DP and production designer are the three people I asked when it came down to like doing the Kickstarter route. I was like, what do you guys think about just like doing this with like bare bones? Like, how can we do this now? Like, we can't wait any longer. And so, yeah, she was reading versions of the script as we were writing it. She's really involved by the end of it and really like building the character and building her background with us. Like, she should almost be a writer of the project at this point.
Mhm.
How did she get involved initially? What made her write, even before you did the feature, what made her write for Claire when you're doing the short?
Well, I had met her at a screening of Contracted, the film that she was in, another horror film, which is like, she is the whole movie, which kind of, I feel like that film told me how talented she was. So she carries this entire film and kind of goes through everything. It's emotionally. And I briefly met her at that screening, probably 2014. And about it, I don't know if it was a total year later that I was just like brainstorming people, like dream people to be in the role. And she kept coming to mind. And I was like, I don't know. At first I wondered if she was too beautiful. And I was like, that's a stupid thing to think about. Because she's just so talented. And I didn't want it to be about the outside, really, about like fixing something that isn't beautiful, whatever that means. And so it was through a connection of the director of Contracted, Eric England, just an email, and sent her the short, and she was just right away really excited about it. And we got on a video chat before we were doing this all the time. And so it was a little more awkward. But yeah, it was just through the awesome connections of the horror world being so small.
Mm-hmm.
That's how half the things I've accomplished have happened. Just thanks to everyone being so friendly and helpful.
Yeah.
It really is so amazing, because I think this film could have gone to, like, I've seen films where it seems like it's about mental illness in a way, and it becomes like exploitation. And I didn't think that was the case with this. It's like, here is this sad girl, this girl with so much potential to be happy, and she's going through these things. She's going through these things that happen, not to this extent, but can happen to people who are very isolated and don't have people to help them and people to make them feel like they matter. And where can that go? And I think that sometimes that can go in a place, and I feel kind of like gross about how the character pans out. But I didn't feel like that with this. I feel like it was just like it's perfect balance of someone who plays a believable character in an unorthodox situation. So it has that nice reality feel to it without me feeling like, oh, this is like gross how this has been done. It was really wonderful.
Thank you so much. I mean, and thank on Najarra's behalf, because she's just so, I feel like her performance is just so nuanced. She can just say so much with just like barely a expression on her face. And I realized not till like really in hindsight, with everyone's reactions to the film, pulling out all the social anxiety, I was like, I always knew she was anxious and lonely, but I didn't realize how much of myself I put into her. And I was like, wow, it was cool to see the people connect to the real side of it. And I was worried about what it would say. I'm like, I'm definitely not saying if you're anxious, you're going to go scalp people, of course.
Mhm.
But with horror, we tell a super fantastical version of reality.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, for people who don't know, you're a hairstylist. So this may be a silly question, but even just her movements when she's working on someone's hair and stuff, like I assume that's something you work with her on, like just so it seems natural that this is something she knows how to do or has
Yeah,
time doing.
yeah, those kind of details were important to me. It was like part of the big, like the inspiration to do the film in the first place. I was like, how does this not already exist? And I'm like, I should do it because I can make the things, the small details that hairstylists will know are real. And so it was interesting. Najarra put a lot of work into it. She had a mannequin head, the things we would use in hair school to practice on in her living room for like 6 months ahead of time. She's always like practicing with the brush and blow dryer, which is like a lot of these things that when you do them for 10 years, it's just like second nature. You don't even looking that even 6 months, it's not going to look the same. But she was even cutting people's hair that she knew, which those people are brave. I think her mom even let her cut her hair, who's Dorinda Townsend. She's amazing. She's helped the film in so many ways. She's actually Claire's mom in the photos. It's her Najarra's real mom in the movie.
That's really cool. Yeah.
But yeah, all that was really important to me and her. And a funny, cool, small thing, a lot of the close-ups of just the hands with blow drying, curling and stuff, the extreme close-ups are mostly my production designer and producer, Sarah Sharp's hands. She's also has a cosmetology license. I could do it, except for I've got all the tattoos. We just like paint the nails the same color, and she's doing a lot of that. And we did that in the short without even planning. It was just like an accident, like, oh my God, what are we going to do for this?
Yeah.
And for the future, we were much more prepared. But yeah, we have essentially stunt hands, or doubles of her hands in a lot of moments.
I want to bring up, because you said that you thought maybe she was too pretty to play the role. And I thought it was interesting because not often do you see a female killer in a movie where it's not about her like sexually luring men into kill. That really has nothing to do with this movie. And I think that's very unique, actually. You don't really see that hardly ever.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because we have a foreign poster that makes it look like that's what the movie is. And I just die laughing at it. But it's also interesting that I feel like the sad girl movies you normally do see, we like typecast kind of awkward looking people. I don't even like saying that sounds so judgmental and horrible, but just this, the stereotype of what is beautiful or whatever the hell. And I embarrassingly was thinking in that terms at first. And then I realized like, that's not what this is about. And had this like reckoning in my own head when I started to realize what I was looking for. It wasn't about really what they looked like. But I was looking for like someone with just like eyes that really pulled you in. But she's just incredible. And I also learned from the short film, we put scars on her neck in the short that we didn't have in the feature. And that was another thing I learned. I was like, everyone focused on that, and it became all about the physical. And I wanted the feature to hopefully focus on the psychological part of her.
Yeah. Was that a shop you work at that you filmed it at?
Yes. It is. And I have a lot of clients that are like, I just got in the last 2 years because I took over, a guy left, and a lot of his clients started coming to me. And so they're only just learning about, a lot of my longtime clients know I've been making movies, and so I'll be cutting their hair and they're like, what's your movie about? I'm like, a hairstylist that kills people. I just like straight say it like that. And I've got a copy of it up in there. But so, yeah, I think some people are legitimately a bit concerned when they see it, or when I tell them that, I'm like, good thing you haven't seen it yet, because it's like the end of the night and they're the only person left with me. Like that's a very real scene if you work in a salon where everyone kind of works for themselves and works different hours. But yeah, that is the spot. And we rearranged it a little bit, but I knew when we shot the short in a different one, but I knew when I moved to this salon, I was like, this will be perfect for the feature. It's like the same colors, but bigger. We'll have more room for cameras. And yeah, I was already scheming the second I got in there.
Did like some of your regulars, are any of them in the movie? Like, as backgrounds?
Yes. It's funny. They're not, I don't think any of them are in the salon scenes coordinating the salon background was way more of a nightmare than I imagined because of the action everyone was doing behind Claire's conversations. But in like the wedding and the big bachelorette club scene, those are all like friends or clients and family. And Bria even has said that in some interview we were in together. Bria Grant, she's like, everyone coming up to me. They're like, I'm Jill's hair client. I'm Jill's whatever. And I'm like, that's how you have to make a movie as an independent filmmaker. Get everyone who will help you to do it, whatever it can in any way. It's like, it all makes it possible.
Yeah, I was looking actually at the credits. I saw people I know, like Erica Kaufman and Zach Kaufman. Yeah, so it's fun.
Yes, I had to have them. They're actually walking down the street. Totally can't tell who they are. I wish we could see them, but with me before my big spoiler alert kill. I was like, I need some badass looking people to be walking down the street with me, Eric and Zach.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the spoiler because I didn't know if I should bring it up, but a great.
I figure at this point we can talk about spoilers.
It's been a year or two, so yeah, great cameo, a great get killed in the movie. What was that like to get killed in your own film?
It was really exciting and nerve-wracking as hell. I don't think I am great in front of the camera. I think I was doing that to like challenge myself and like a childhood dream. And it was from a producer's standpoint, it was like logical, cheaper. My hair was easy to replicate for a wig. But I get really nervous on camera. Sometimes I'm like shut down last minute. I knew I couldn't do that with this, but it was really, I think, thanks to like Najarra, and I like rehearsed it quite a bit at the location. She gave me some insight. I was like, you're making me a better director. I think I need to be doing this more often. But it was really fun but a lot of fucking stress. I was already so worshiping at performers, but I'm like, this is a lot. Just like what I had to do in one shot and like twirling around and land on the ground when she stabs me. I was like, I can't hit all these marks and act at the same time. I'm not a professional actor. I was like having a meltdown for a second, but then it was fine. It was awesome and incredibly emotionally exhausting. I learned a lot from that. Yeah. My friend, John Pata, he's a writer director. I don't know if you guys have talked to him before, but he edited both the short and the feature. He was coming in town to help for a few days anyway. I essentially had him second direct that scene. And so I couldn't look at the monitor. I wasn't allowing myself to like look at each one and be like, I look stupid there. It was like, get through the whole shot. We move on. Then I can watch. We can't go back at that point. So yeah. Yeah.
Is that a fun scene to watch? After the movie's finished, you're watching it on the big screen.
It is fun. And I love Najarra at the end of it when she's just like laughing like a total maniac at this point. When we shot that part, we were all just like cheering. We were so excited. We're like, this is the craziest you've been in the movie. I love it. Yeah. But the one thing I didn't anticipate was how much it was going to be horrific for my mother. My mom hates horror movies and violence, and so I'm like, what have I done now? She has to watch her own daughter get like, and it's like a dragged out kill. It was not right of me to do that to my mom. I just showed her a picture of it and she started like tearing up. I'm like, oh God, you can't watch this part.
Well, I did like what you said earlier about the descent of Claire, because the first kill is like, I don't want to say nice, but it's, it's calm and it's laid back, and then things get much more brutal.
Yeah, we were like it's like literally mirroring what's going on inside. It's like every kill is getting messier and she's disassociating more. I feel like by my kill, she's not Claire anymore. And it made it fun because in every kill we were like, what are we going to accentuate? And like, we're not like repeating the same thing with like special effects stuff. that was a lot of fun and a lot of challenging wigs to find things.
I had that in my notes. It's funny you brought that up because I when I was watching it again, I was like, I wonder if it's hard to find like the matching wigs or if you have someone wear the wig for their scene, and then when they get scalped, she can just wear the same wigs.
That would be smarter in a lot of ways if I wasn't such a I'm a brat about like I don't like how the wig looks in the first place. So I'm like, they're gonna be as in not scalped for quite a while. I don't really want to be staring at them in this horrible wig for like 10 minutes. But then yeah, a lot of that's challenging because I have to really take it into account with casting. I like their hair is almost as important as their performance. Can we find a wig? Because we don't have an unlimited budget to create like an incredible wig of any color. So that was part of it. And that part kind of sucks because I'm like, if it's a solid hair color, if there's it's going to be really hard if it's not like just like dark brown or blonde. In fact, Bria's is really, really hard to do. I actually like highlighted a wig like and cut it and worked on it. So I actually like did the hairstylist or did their hair on like off, not like on set, but like the wigs, and I did Najarra's hair color too.
Interesting.
Were you inspired by anything in particular to have these hideous women who were around her, who were so mean and nasty and horrible to her? You mentioned that club scene, and I was just, the hell with these people?
The that bathroom scene where it's like I kind of did it on purpose. It is like a kind of a cliche that's in a lot of movies. There's like the mean girl bathroom scene. I was kind of trying to do a spin on it in the sense of like, or we're trying to put you so far into Claire's perspective that it does feel really mean, but what they're saying isn't really that like outlandish. Like they're like, they've never heard of this girl before and she's here. They're definitely being kind of bratty, but a lot of the stuff that comes off mean to Claire, I feel like is pretty understandable. Even the Olivia kind of confrontation in a parking deck when she comes out of work, she's kind of just laying boundaries that are pretty understandable. But from Claire's perspective, it's like the end of the world. And we try to like almost make the camera feel like Claire's perspective, even though it's not literally, POV. Like to take you so far on her side that you're starting to feel what she feels, even if it's not totally rational at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was hard for me to think. The bathroom scene was hard for me because I'm like, I don't want them to be too mean, but I want it to, from her perspective, to feel like this is the end of the world because they're clearly not accepting her.
Yeah.
How about the effects themselves? Who was that? Someone you knew who did the effects? Like, how did you find them?
Yeah, that's our lead artist. Her name is Colleen Kaufman. She worked on the short too, and I've worked with her on, I feel like every short that's needed that. She does all kinds of work in the makeup world. She also does wig work. So this was like a dream combo scenario, I think, where she even, we bought some wigs, but she would take out the front and put some like fake skin, whether she made it out of latex or silicone different times, and feed some hair through the fake skin so that front looked a little bit better. So it was like a pretty intricate preparation. Like we had to cast and find the wigs like a month plus before we're going to shoot to have anything ready. So it was a lot, but it was really cool. And it was cool to go in and get like my neck cast. I've never done any of that stuff before, but she's incredible. And it's like a layer. The scalp effect itself is insane and very nerve wracking because it's literally layered. Like she puts a bald cap on and then all these fake guts and blood and then the scalp and then the wig and then layers that down. And then we were actually like cutting through the real skin, like actually cutting and pulling it back. And we're always like, we'll hope when it pulls back, the blood's like where it's supposed to be. Right. Then the short, it was like a dream. They like just pulled off the first time and we're all in the background like it just keeps going. And Najarra's having a hard time. We're like, that just makes it look better. It looks real. In the short or in the feature, we were like, it just didn't happen like amazing the first time. We're like, of course it's not going to like happen again the way it did the first time. And so it was more challenging, that opening scene, even though we kind of did the exact same kill like setup. But yeah, we had so many challenges with the effects on like on the set, but they all, in the edit, they look incredible. We were kind of, that's the thing with independent film. We don't have the actors. We can't do tests ahead of time. We don't have like an extra $5,000 to like do a scalping before we actually film it. Like, or does, this match the person's skin, an actor that's in LA that we can't see till a week before we film it. There's so many things like that, but it was so fun. And this effects days, I think, are so fun and nerve wracking because you never know how it's going to go. But we spend a whole day just doing one of those things.
I think that really, like you said, adds to it when she's kind of tugging on it, because
yeah,
I've never scalped anyone, but I assume it's super easy. I don't know, but yeah. And also the sound effects of like kind of like a ripping.
That part is so challenging on the short and the feature. In fact, we were working with this company called Noise Floor in Chicago with the sound on the feature, and it's like so many layers of the most weird things you'd think of, like Velcro, even just cardboard ripping. There's like fruit being like crunched up, like all kinds of crap. I made it a point. I was like, I'm not okay with using like dead animals to make those sounds. So I was like, we got to think of creative ways, not actually pull skin off something that's dead.
Yeah. Well, so, like I'm sure you can find a creaking door or something, but you can't like look up.
Yeah, you're like, what does that actually sound like? Does anybody know?
And then you're worried if someone's like, well, I know exactly how that sounds.
You're like, that was not the correct sound effect for the scalping.
Diablo Joe in the chat room says the film bucks a lot of tropes, as you've already gone over. It also looks wonderfully bold and colorful. Was that the result of overall personal taste or conscious style decision for the film?
It was it's kind of a combination. I do like films that use a lot of color, especially using color as a way of like enhancing the story. Like it has, intention or meaning behind why you're using which color when. And so with this film, we knew we were going to go really lean crazy into this style and it being like incredibly stylish, and kind of it started with the short, but we expanded it a lot more of like the color palette we had started to create for Claire. We just went kind of crazy with it. Started with that like mustard yellow color and the idea that like she inherited her grandmother's house, is this backstory I have. So kind of I live this idea that she's like almost from another time. So all her color palette looks like very 70s browns and oranges and yellows. And we thought that, and the main character I wanted to always be the opposite. She's kind of like the doppelganger of Claire, like the same and the opposite at the same time. So I was like, well, she'll have a cool colors. Purple is her main color, the opposite of yellow on the color chart, and cool versus warm. And so like we always knew that like the whole world would be like that. So Claire would kind of just stand out everywhere. And so it was always a huge part of the storytelling from like the very beginning, the color, like what it all meant.
Did you do the editing yourself, or what was that process like?
That was edited by John Pata. I've only edited like one short myself. I do like being very involved in it, but the technical side of it, I'm always like, God knows what I actually just did to this file after what I've just done. I have the vision for it, but I have not learned the everything about it. But so I storyboard quite a bit and already have like a pretty clear vision of how like the scenes are going to come together before we even shoot. So I shared all that with my editor and communicate all of it. So we work real closely, but like he normally puts major scenes together, then sends them to me. And it's just then, back and forth. We actually had John already putting scenes together while we were shooting. Certain scenes we were worried, did we get everything? Is that scene going to make sense? And she's like, throw it together really fast and see. But yeah, he's an incredible fast worker. And in fact, I'm working on he's editing his film that he just wrote and directed that I helped produce called Black Mold that we're hoping we'll start playing next year. So he's back editing something he wrote and directed.
You mentioned him working really fast, and I'm just thinking as you're describing all these things, and I'm thinking all the time that it takes to do all of this stuff. And do you feel like you felt pressed for time? Did you feel like it was just right? Do you feel like it took longer than you expected? Did it go by faster than you expected?
It's different parts, like the trying to get it financed took for freaking ever, which is normal. But I think the shoot itself goes by so fast, and that's really down to budget. We shot for we shot 19 days. But post-production went way faster than I thought, and way faster than I thought I would want it to. But then it worked out. But I expected. I spent like almost 6 months on a post on a short film, and that's all. And we wrapped the film in February and had it premiere in September at Fantastic Fest. And I don't even understand how we did that. Part of that was thanks to COVID, which is, I'm not saying COVID is a good thing. Let me be clear when I said that. But we went into lockdown, like, middle of March, which we couldn't have, I had no idea that how serious it was till it was that serious. And the only positive for us was that we had all that time. Like, suddenly we have full time to focus on it. So I think the film wouldn't have been done nearly as fast otherwise, or the edit, because John would have had other things to do than just sit at home and edit the film. And it was like, I feel like a lot of our saving grace, as cheesy as that sounds, during that time, we had something to focus on to like take our mind off of the world crumbling apart. So yeah, we benefited off all of us having nothing to do but be at home.
That's when I started doing the show on video, was during COVID, because everyone was at home, like you said, and that's not a good thing, but something, I do think a lot of people came up with creative ideas during COVID to make things.
Anytime you can get anything positive out of something like that, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So how did COVID though affect the festival run? Because I know some of them then became virtual.
Yeah, I'm definitely personally very bummed that we didn't get to do the in-person thing, because I feel like that's like a world I really know and like know how to use to my advantage, and really like get out there and network the hell out of that shit, because I did that with my shorts. But so we premiered virtually at Fantastic Fest, and then the bright side of that is people could watch it from anywhere, except instead of just the people in Texas. But and we still did the difference is, because it's virtual and because it is then available to the whole US, we play less festivals, because normally we play a lot of regional, like Brooklyn, Knoxville, and so on. But with they're all being broadcasted to the whole country, then it's kind of like playing the same place over and over again. So that became kind of a different challenge, because I like normally would have wanted to play all these different festivals, and it was like, it's not the same thing. But we were able to do, some in person, even in 2020, like we had a couple of drive-in screenings in that October, and we're still having screenings even this month. So it's exciting that I think we kind of get to make up for that lost experience. We've had lots of in-person festivals since. But I don't know. Who knows what would happen otherwise? Because we got. Sorry.
I think I saw on your Facebook it's going to be playing in Spain.
Yes, it's playing at a festival called B Retina. They reached out to us, and I'm like, our foreign sales agent, we kind of discuss all screenings outside the country with them. And I was like, let's do this. I don't think we've been distributed in tons of places, but not in Spain. And we played Sitges. We were playing Spain, then we were playing here in Kansas City again at the Stray Cat, and then at the Lost Weekend Festival in Winchester, Virginia, which is at the Alamo out there. Oh, cool. I'll be at that one, so I'm excited to go back to festivals again.
Yeah.
It's like, summer camp for us. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah. So when you did get to, I know the virtual is fun because you have like a chat and everything, but it is different going and seeing with people. And so when you did get to see it on the big screen with people for the first time, what was that experience like?
Oh man, I'm like, which time was the very first time? It's it's nerve-wracking but super exciting. I'm excited for like very specific moments to find out how they'll like work or if they will at all. It's interesting. It's not like I love to sit through the gross moments to hear the reactions, especially when you're not in a horror fanatic crowd, like at a normal film festival, whatever that means. Where it's not your typical person who watches horror movies every single day and they're like really squirming. That I think that's even more fun. But then the nerds will like cheer to the gore, so that's fun in its own way. But I love these very small awkward moments that I'm hoping get laughs, and when they do, I'm just like, yes, because I like fought for them to stay in the movie. But then a lot of it's painful because I'm just like, oh God, I can't watch this again. Because just through post-production you see a movie 5 billion times. But there's nothing like knowing how moments really work in real time. It's different, like with virtual, people can say they liked it or not at the end, but to sit there and actually hear the reactions and feel it, where like the bored parts are, you can just feel it like in somewhere in the room. And so the more and more I watch it with public, I see the things I would of course fix. I think we all do it. You can like edit a movie for 100 years and never put it out. But it has made me think, I'm like, what if we could step away from our movies for a whole year and then edit them? We don't want to, because we're all just like, let's get it finished. But I was like, there's something I think to be said about this. But who knows? We can never get far enough away from our own thing to see it.
Then
like
you'd have like the Zack Snyder cut and have the advantage of reading everything. Yeah. Like, here's another 80 million. So
then he'll make it even longer.
Movie's better. Wow.
Yeah, I've joked that I was going to release a director's cut that's the opposite. It will be much shorter. Most director's cuts are like fucking way longer.
Yeah. I often find that, not all the time, but a lot of the director's cuts, I think when I watch them and they are longer, and I do think, oh, I think it was better before they.
Yeah, there was a reason they got this.
Yeah, maybe that's why it was cut down. Yeah. It's not always, but I mean, Midsummer I really like, but I actually thought the director's cut wasn't as good as the original cut.
I haven't seen it. Is it a lot longer or what?
Yeah, it's longer. It's much longer, and I don't think it's as effective. It's it's a slow movie anyway, which I don't mind, but I don't know. I just didn't think it was as good. It's not like terrible, but when I watch it, I was like, oh, I know why these things were cut.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I like. It depends, back, I feel like in a certain time we were getting theatrical cuts. And so that's like cut down so that it can be rated R.
Right.
And that's not always the best version, because it's literally like they're just cutting out an extra 10 seconds of this gore scene, or like the most like minuscule weird details. It's like this second longer makes it not qualify for being rated R. It's just so fucking weird.
I assume you didn't have that issue, I guess.
Yeah, when you
independent.
Now that like so many movies don't come out theatrically, all the streaming, they don't have to go through a rating. Like nothing's rated anymore, which that's kind of cool, I think.
Yeah,
less censorship.
Here you are, young female filmmaker. You've done all this stuff. I know the last time I talked with you was quite a while ago. I don't even know.
I was trying to think of when that was.
Yeah, by the way, and this is Annabelle's first live show with us in many years.
Awesome.
So I think me young, I haven't made a movie, and I think back to where I thought I would be as a child. Did you ever think as a child that this is where you would reach? And some people would say, yes, this is my life. I've always knew I would end up here. What about for yourself?
This is a great question. I did not know that I was going to make movies. I don't know, some of this is going to sound pretentious. I'll just put a warning label on it. I've always was like really driven since I was really young but a lot of it, I didn't know what that was for exactly. I was just like, I always knew I was like, I'm going to do something big, whatever the hell that meant. But I was always creative, and I played music growing up and did theater in middle school and would make silly like sketch comedy things on my dad's camcorder with my friends. But I never thought I think I never thought filmmaking was something like within the reach of like anyone that wasn't like a millionaire for a very long time. It's not even something I even like ever considered. I like put on like horror shows in town that were just kind of like performance art that I kind of directed it, but I never thought about like making a movie until I went to a horror convention finally, like 2012 or 11. And like my first big convention, I realized like that's where I met some independent filmmakers. I met James Bickard and the Dear God No crazy crew, and Vito Trabucco, who made Bloody Bloody Bible Camp. And I was just like, that's when I realized I'm like, real people make movies. And like they put it together because I had to like see it, I think. And then just kind of seeing that and then meeting all these, you know, people I was just nerded out about all my life. I was like, how did I never go to horror convention until I was almost 30? I was mad at myself, but I was just like, wow, this community is so cool and welcoming and creative. And so it was really just like finally meeting people. And it wasn't until a while after that I started to try to get involved in other people's projects. But yeah, I kind of was always like understood like networking and promoting and putting together events and shows and just like different things. I feel like that just slowly led me to this place.
I must have started going to the conventions around the same time because 2011 was our first convention.
Yeah, that was the first work convention I went to. So it was probably all around the same time. But here you are, you've made a movie. What the hell happened to me? It's so awesome though. Like I find that kind of story very inspiring because I would never deprive anyone of the privilege they have. It's great if people come from whatever they come from. But like you said, there are people out there who they network and they do things and they really have to push to get where they want to go. And it's not just like, here you go. It's you really have to push it and work it and be like, make it happen. And it's not necessarily going to be handed to you. Did you go to film school?
I did not. I just did hair school and always loved movies. But yeah, so when I decided to try to direct a short, I was like, I don't know what the hell I think I'm doing. But I just feel like I surrounded myself by people that did know what they were doing and just have always been doing that and trying to learn from them and then work on other people's projects in other positions to learn, you know, how other people do things.
Honestly, most of my friends who are independent filmmakers didn't go to school and film school. And the same way that, you know, you learn being on other people's sets. Yeah.
I think there's nothing like if there's a lot of pluses to having that education because there's all these, even just knowing all the vocabulary that I've slowly had to learn that you would just already know and kind of getting a little bit of understanding of every department is, I think, is very beneficial. But I think really to do this stuff, you just have to do it. Like you have to, there's so many, it seems like such a big thing. People are like, how do you start? And you just have to like start, you know, a little step at a time.
Yeah, that's come up before, and it seems like it's kind of almost like a silly thing to say, just do it. But I hear it over and over again. And otherwise, if it's just in your head, it's never going to be anything.
Yeah, I feel like, yes, it sounds so simple, but it's like you can't figure out how to do it without literally doing it. There's no like you can read it in a book, but that's not going to teach you how to do it.
Right. I also like that you said bring in other people who know what they're doing, because I do think some people think I'm going to do everything because I want total control, and usually they don't get anything done. But if you have other people who know what they're doing in each part, you know, you're more likely to actually make something.
Yeah.
I have a question. Yeah. I'm thinking of a friend of mine who I'm not going to name because they'll be embarrassed, but they really want to get into filmmaking and they do some really cool stuff, but they're on their own right now. They're very young. And this person has mentioned concerns about imposter syndrome. And I'm wondering if you have experience of that and if you can relate to that, like being around people that have been doing this. And if you felt that, and if you have felt that, how do you move past that? Or even if you know someone who's had that, how do you encourage them to just keep going and like move past that into the place where you don't feel that?
No, I think that is hard because like I said, surround myself with people that are way more experienced, and then it makes me nervous that I lack the like authority to then be the director or whatever. And I think a lot of that is that you do have to, find that confidence within yourself to carry it. But also before we shot Call Girl, I was working with Trista and Risk, and I voiced my nervousness to her about just like, I didn't like go into some meltdown, but I was like, I'm just, really nervous about tomorrow, like the shoot was tomorrow and just it going smoothly. And I don't know, I felt all this pressure, like everyone is looking at me and I have to know what the hell's going on. Which that's partially what it is, but she just, something about me voicing it and then her saying like, just like kind of making me feel like, of course, like being nervous is totally like natural. And like, we're all here to like solve the problems together. And so like, no one's looking at you like you don't, like you're the like, that's not how, it's not like all of us against you. And so I feel like just like voicing it, but also they're realizing that like, we're all in it to like, that's like one of the most rewarding things about making films, I think, is like this group coming together and solving these ridiculous situations that we get ourselves into.
You mentioned the horror community. I don't know about all the other filmmaking communities out there because this is the world I travel in, but that seems to be that is the thing, is that the horror people you get connected to, they really do want you to succeed.
Yeah.
Are going to support you.
And there's just like, there's just such a fan base for this world. We've all loved it since we were so little, that it's just like, there's this world just ready to consume all the stuff it's made.
Yeah. And pre-internet, you might have known one or two people, or maybe nobody around you, who also like these crazy movies. But once you found the internet, then festivals and conventions, you found all these like-minded people who also like all this craziness.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how geeked I was at that first one. I think it was Texas Frightmare Weekend, that's where I met Lawrence Harvey, who was also in Call Girl. And without meeting him there, none of that all would have happened. And it's just a crazy world. Yeah, I just went there geeked out to meet the guy from Human Centipede, and I had no idea I'd make a film with him a year later. And it's just a crazy, friendly, the scariest guy in the movie, the nicest guy in real life. You never know.
We love Lawrence here.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
His new film just premiered at Fright.
Wait, what the hell is he in, and why don't I realize this?
Eating. Let me get the name.
Oh, he's in Eating Miss Campbell.
Eating Miss Campbell, yes.
Which is Liam Reagan's new film.
Yeah.
I'm dying to see it, and I did not realize. I should have known Lawrence would be in it somewhere.
He looks really scary too. I didn't see the film yet, but there's like a still of him, and it's quite horrifying.
I was at Frightfest, but I didn't get to see the movie either, unfortunately.
Oh man.
But, sometimes when you're at the festivals, you actually don't get to see all the movies. But,
yeah.
Gory bits. I would love to know what Jill is working on next. Hints would be fine.
Hints would be fine. A few things, trying to get stuff moving. I have a script that I should not say Eric Stoll's, my co-writer on The Stylist, one of them, he and I work on a lot of stuff together, and he's written a script for me to direct that we've built the concept together. But I wonder if I should say anything. It is a horror film, and it's another character focused film in a totally different subgenre in the horror world. I don't think I want to give that away yet. So we're trying to kind of see where that could go. We over the summer got it into a really good place. The script itself, we started working on it before we made The Stylist, and then picked it back up. And then I've been writing something that is totally not horror, and it's like centered around the sex work and stripper world, which is a thing I'm very passionate about. You know, just talking about and saying it should be decriminalized and spreading the gospel of that. But so really, it's just lots of writing in early phases. I'm dying to be on set again. In fact, I've considered directing another short film because that's something you can actually do in a few months versus, you know, best case scenario, if you even have money to make a feature, it's going to take you 3 years to make it or something. And it's been since the Stylist, you know, 2020 of February that I've directed, which feels like a million years ago now. But I did want to drop again John's film Black Mold. I'm helping produce it, but I also did hair on it, which was my first time doing hair on a movie, which is funny.
Oh, cool.
It was cool to be in that, like, to see the whole set from that place. I was like, okay, I'm learning new things from over here. But it was a lot of fun, and that really kicked my ass into gear to write. I was so excited to be back on a set again, and it's mostly the same crew that worked on the Stylist, so it was like a reunion. It was so fun.
So I want to bring up, I'm calling this month slasher month, and in a way I kind of cheated because I don't necessarily consider the Stylist as a slasher, but I did say it's mentioned as a slasher sometimes. So would you consider the Stylist a slasher?
Not exactly. It is like slasher inspired, you know. I know why people hear the title and it sounds like it should be a slasher. And that's kind of like from the concept, I was like, why isn't there like a slasher hairstylist? But then I went kind of more my taste, which is psychological thriller. In fact, my original scripts had less kills than even it has now. I was worried about it being too slashery, but I do love slashers, so it's like very inspired by lots of them.
Do you have a favorite slasher film, either modern or, you know, a classic?
Oh man, it's hard to say
A
because then
favorite.
there's the debate of what's the slasher.
A few top. That favorite word is brutal.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people know my favorite movie is Texas Chainsaw. There's a lot of debate. Is it a slasher? Right. Is this definition of a slasher
genres
a lot of people being killed? There's a decent amount of people killed in it. That's my favorite movie. And more modern, I mean, I love Scream. Scream is like, came out when I was like 12. So it really formed me as a horror fan. And then the 90s horror that a lot of people might laugh at, I love it, you know, like because I grew up on it. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Idle Hands, Final Destination. I love all that stuff, and those are kind of very slashery.
Yeah. Joe says, was that? Sorry.
What are your guys' favorite slashers?
I would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre is good right there. I really like My Bloody Valentine. I think this may be
that's a great
I think I say underrated, but I think people are starting to really like it now. But when I was a kid, it wasn't necessarily really popular.
I like the old, like, crazy ones. Talked about it earlier, the Coolidge Theater in Brookline, they show midnight movies, and so stuff like Driller Killer, I find those very fun. I like all that crazy ridiculousness that I tend to like in a slasher, not polished in any way at all. Like Violent Night, Deadly Night, I think counts as
I love,
and that's fun. I laugh to that movie. I like a I can laugh about it slasher.
And for modern ones, I do like Terrifier a lot. I know some of my friends don't like
awesome.
it, but yeah, I like it.
That one would be my modern one too. I think classic, maybe Halloween.
But Texas Chainsaw.
What other recent slashers have happened?
Yeah.
So it's Terrifier. I mean, the reboot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or remake, whatever you want to call it, or sequel. I guess it's a sequel. For like, there's probably
like there's
modern
more, but my
that
brain is empty right now of this idea. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, I guess really the standout one would be Terrifier for modern. That's really one of the few modern, like where the killer, like, you know, you see people's shirts and stuff, as opposed to, you know, everyone's Freddy and Jason and stuff.
Maybe the one with the chrome skull too. That would be. I can't remember the name. What's the name of those? Yeah.
laid to
those
rest.
Yeah. Enjoy those too.
But Joe says it'll be fascinating to see Jill's take on non-horror topics.
Mm,
He's interested.
mhm.
So where can people follow you to see what you're up to? Not to your home, but
Please no. At Jill Sixx with 2 X's on all the platforms. And you can follow the Stylist film still all over the place as well, or my website, which I desperately need to update. I'm reminded every time I say this. Oh God, sixtape.com. I really need to do that. Oh God.
And I don't know if it came up before. How did you get, if you don't mind sharing, how did you get the Sixx nickname?
Yeah. I probably freaking decided it was that, but Six has been my favorite number since I was a little kid. And I think it probably just must be because my birthday's February 6th, but I know really young, I picked it for a number, like to be my number on a shirt for a soccer team. I'm like 8 years old. And they told me like that was an unlucky number. And I just remember them saying that to me so well. And I was like, fuck you. I didn't think that probably, but it's like the natural rebel in me was like, well, I want it even more now. I didn't know it was like an evil number, probably yet, like a devil number, which once I realized that just made me like it more. And then it's like this evolution of my obsession. And then I knew who Motley Crue was, but I read The Dirt and a few of Nikki Sixx's books and was just really inspired by his story. And then it's just a whole thing. I don't even know at this point. But Sixx Tape was this writer named Abby Stutzer. She wrote an article about my first film, and she titled the article Sixx Tape. And I was like, that's the coolest. I love it. I love how it's like sexy and what does it mean? I don't know what it means. So I was like, I'm stealing that. Can I please steal that and become my company?
That's fantastic.
I did ask Abby.
So the Stylist people can see on Shudder, Arrow, physical release. What's on the Blu-ray for the Stylist?
So many insane things. Oh my God. Thanks to Arrow being amazing. We had already started making all these behind the scene featurettes, not knowing where the film was going to end up. So we have like a whole, I don't remember if there's like 8 or more featurettes behind the scenes about, specific things. Like one's about from the story from short to feature. One's about the city and how it like affected the shoot. One's about the Chiefs, in fact, because they were playing the Super Bowl while we were shooting, and it really did affect the whole shoot. You'd be surprised. But we have like a video essay from a woman named Alexander Nicholas that is incredibly insightful, that I'm like, you make the films sound way smarter than we intended on being. There's like a storyboard feature showing like how we also took the pictures in the locations way before we shot the exact same shots. All kinds of stuff. There's this soundtrack, a poster, a booklet. It's insane. A commentary from Nia Najarra.
Oh, I'm a big fan of commentary tracks.
But yeah, it's packed full of things.
Very cool. All right. Well, it's been very fun to have you back on. We'll have to do it again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. So I'm gonna go over my my trip to England here, but you can stay. You can take off. I know I told you about an hour, so
I must go check on the dogs.
All
One
right.
of them who was in the movie.
Oh, very good. Great performance. Yeah.
Totally believe you were a dog.
Congrats on your guys' premiere in London.
Yes,
Being
yes.
awesome.
It's a very exciting time. So
Well, thank
yeah.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll
Bye,
talk-
Bye, guys.
Take care,
Bye.
Joe.
All right, Neil, I must also go check on my dogs.
All right.
So you and Annabelle enjoy.
Thank you. I love the shirt, by the way. I just
Oh.
started wearing it.
It's pretty sweet.
What in tarnation? Give it to me, Neil.
I don't know. I'm just a big fan.
Oh,
of it.
well, give me the, being a big fan.
Yeah. What in tarnation?
That sucks. That wasn't anything like.
I'll
All right,
work
good
on it.
night.
Good night. So yeah, and coming up right after this, if you're watching live, it should bring you right into the Fabio Frizzi interview, which is very exciting, which Annabelle and I did earlier today. But it's a great interview, and Jill was awesome.
Yes, that was great.
Yeah.
That was cool. I'm glad I was able to make it. It was like,
Yeah, that was very good.
it was awesome.
So let's let everyone know. So London Fright Fest. I was there one other time as press. This time was there with the Once and Future Smash, and it was just really a great experience for a movie that I produced and I'm in. And we filmed it pre-COVID at Mad Monster, and then it was literally 2 weeks before shutdown. So it was a long time not knowing if the movie was going to actually ever be finished or when it was going to be finished. And so then if to have a premiere at Fright Fest or premiere anywhere is cool, but premiere at Fright Fest was really big. And I was almost not going to go because of just the cost of flight. And then Ryan Kruger, who made Fried Berry, and a few other people, they were like, no, you have to go, Mark Scheffler. And so I was like, well, I should go to the premiere. And so I was glad I did. It was a great experience seeing everybody. I wish I would have got to see more movies.
Yeah, I'm sad for you about the Lawrence Harvey movie.
Yes, I was very excited to see it. But I will be having Liam Regan on the show here soon to talk about the movie. He also did not get to see Once a Future Smash, Liam. So we actually traded screeners. So
Good.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it'll be cool to get Lawrence back on too. So I'm really looking forward to that one.
I don't know if everybody, let me interview you a little bit. I don't know if everybody in the audience,
Yeah,
because not everybody is into the festival thing, knows what Fright Fest is.
Yeah, so it's one of the biggest genre fests in the world, and it's it's London and Leicester Square, which I always was calling it Leicester Square, but it's not like
From Massachusetts.
It's Leicester Square. Yeah.
How can you pronounce things? Forget it.
I don't pronounce stuff right.
Worcester.
You're right. By the way, so I was listening to Joe Hill audiobook. And it's a great book, but whoever was reading the book did not know how to pronounce names of towns in Massachusetts, and it was very annoying.
Painful. Yeah.
Calling it Haver. I forget how they said Haverhill, but it was bad.
Yeah. I've heard some Lovecraft audiobooks, and it's like all towns my family grew up in, and I'm just like, yeah.
So
No.
It's one of the biggest festivals, not even just like prestigious, but in size wise. So it's the main theater is like, I think 10 screens, and they have multiple movies going on at the same time, so they're overlapping. Even if you wanted to, it's almost, I think it's impossible to actually watch every movie.
Yeah.
And then there's a smaller cinema, the Prince Charles theater. That's actually where our movie played, but it's still like a cool theater. It's actually cooler in a way because it's older.
Oh, cool. That is cool.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of cool movies played there. So the one movie I did see the first night I got there was Dark Glasses, the new Dario Argento movie.
How was that?
I'll be honest, I don't think it's the greatest film.
It happens.
But it was a very cool experience because Dario was there and he did the intro, and then he did the Q&A, and he's in his 80s and he's very passionate. So, and he's coming back. He's going to make another movie. So this was his comeback film, and he's going to make another one.
Oh,
That was a really cool experience.
Very cool.
And that was, I don't know how big that theater was, like 600 people or something. I don't know. It was insane. It was very
600 people sounds small.
In a movie theater, it's pretty big, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Small. Oh. How was it compared to the Man's Chinese Theater in Hollywood?
Oh, probably, yeah, it's probably about but then also it's this giant balcony. We were up in the balcony. I'm really not sure how many people it seats. It's
pretty big.
And so his movie, they actually showed it twice.
Oh, wow.
The first, twice in a row, because the first one's completely sold out. And then the second one, I think, was sold out. But we got into
Good for him.
Yeah.
That must be wonderful to, like you said, he's over 80. Not that he doesn't know he has a fan base, but still just that he's still so in demand that people are they're going to put their butts in the seats.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Well, not to spoil our coming interview, but I know when I thought about that, when Fabio talked about Lucio Fulci, passing away before he really knew like the worldwide following of his films. And I did think, he would be like Dario Argento today. He could go to those shows. And see, that people really love these movies, and that they mean a lot to people all over the world, not just whatever audience he thought he had.
So you mentioned Once and Future Smash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because I've been like out in the regular world much more the past few years, so I'm out of touch with everything. How much have you told people about this
Not
film
a lot.
experience?
So the Once and Future Smash. So it's a documentary about two actors who both played Smash Mouth in the 1970 classic or cult classic End Zone 2. And so the documentary is about a lot about End Zone 2 itself.
I think I've heard of that movie.
Yeah, it's got like a cult following.
Yeah.
So a lot of people we've had on the show were familiar with it, and were cool to talk with us about their feelings and how influential it was to a lot of their stuff, like Bob Elmore and Mark Patton and John Dugan and Todd Farmer. Lots of cool people. I hate to say everyone, because I'll know I forget one person and then I'll feel bad. So I'll just say a lot of cool people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a documentary about that. And it's also a documentary about those two actors. And so they were booked at Mad Monster Party.
Mm-hmm.
For people who don't know, those actors then became, changed their names and became Bill Wheaton and Michael St. Michael's.
Oh, that's crazy. So I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I
So,
wonder
so it's
what the
about
story
those
is.
two guys, and
Yeah.
they were booked together for the first time together at Mad Monster, and the Smash Mouth reunion, and it's also about the reboot. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. It's a lot of stuff going on. So how do these three, like, is this a multi-viewing? Because it sounds like they're three very distinct things.
Yeah, they're kind of all mixed together because it tells the story of Mikey and William,
Mm-hmm.
and it also has a lot of history of the movie itself and how it became lost, and what's left of the movie, because there is only 60 minutes left of the original 90-minute feature, and about the convention, and about the reboot of the film.
Interesting. I'm wondering about like the 90 versus 60-minute, and is there a story about like why did it, like, was there like a fire, or do they know what happened?
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but it is covered in the documentary. And I think this is even probably in the trailer. So Mikey is in the first, he plays Smash Mouth in the first hour of the movie, and William plays him in the last half hour of the film. So his part of the film is actually lost.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks. Wow.
So we restored what was left of I produced Once a Future Smash. I didn't produce End Zone 2 restoration, but Launch Over, Michael and Sophia, they restored End Zone 2, and so
cool.
we play them back to back. So you
That's
see
very
the
cool.
documentary, and then you see the there was a debate on which goes first. I kind of think End Zone 2 should go first, but Michael and other people think the Smash Mouth should go first. Then you watch the original movie.
Oh, that's interesting. I have not seen. I've just heard. But yeah, I would think you'd watch the movie first and then kind of see like the how and the background and all the things. But
yeah, so some Michael's theory is that the documentary will make you want to watch the original movie. So I can see both sides.
That too. That's true. That's true. I'm so curious. You mentioned these names of the people that some of whom I've spoken with and am friendly with. So what an interesting little film.
Yeah, it's very nice that they got involved. I've been telling people I don't have to pretend to be nice anymore, because I finally got them to do a favor for me, being in the documentary. But no, it's kidding. But it was cool. And I people talk about the food's bad in England. I disagree. Very good food in England.
Well, we're from New England, so
It's very true.
It's
I went
not a
to
giant transition.
right. No, it was very short notice, so Annabelle couldn't come. It would have been a lot of fun because the first day I went to an all bangers and mash restaurant. I mean, when are you ever going to see a restaurant that's nothing but mashed potatoes and sausages?
Yeah, and you said it was like all different kinds. It's not like it was just
Right.
potatoes and gravy.
You get like your list. It's like you choose from the mashed potatoes, you choose from your sausages, and then you choose the gravies, and then you could just have it like that, or they could throw the whole thing in a pie.
Oh, that sounds nice.
And they even had vegan options. Everywhere had options, which was very good for Michael and Sophia.
That's excellent. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, it's so sad because I didn't go, and then I couldn't go to the stone carving.
Yeah, that's too bad. I wish we both could have made that too.
That would have been awesome. And then there's 2 things that were supposed to happen this month that got canceled. So it's like a lot of different things that, yeah. It's a shame that I didn't go.
Yeah.
But here we are. Everything happens for a reason. So I'm just going to let it be.
People
I'm glad you went. That's wonderful.
Tim asked about you, and that's just private between the 3 of us, but I got a nice little video for you from Tim.
Oh, it's so cute. Tim Dry's rad. One of the reasons I should have gone was to be able to meet Tim because I've never met him in person.
Oh yeah, that's true. Because the first time it was Troy and I met him at the first convention we went to.
Yes.
And then I met him. Yeah. I didn't think about that you actually never have met in person.
No. One of these days.
Yeah. And very nice that Tim and Emma Dark came out to the premiere of the movie.
So who else was there that was involved in the movie?
That was involved in the movie. Probably it was me, Michael, and Sophia. Michael Epstein and Sophia Cassiola, the directors and producers. They were there. I think, this time was just really 3 of us, and Tim Dry's also in the movie. I think that's all that was actually involved. There were people there that I was going to get involved. So originally the idea was the people who had seen the movie and wanted to talk about it, we were going to record at conventions. But we only got to one convention because everything shut down. So we couldn't get Nicholas Vince and Barbie Wild and some other friends of the show to because we didn't have people out there to record with them. So it was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so when we do premiere in the States, the hope is a lot more people that are involved in the movie will be there.
That would be awesome. That'd be great. Are there words about when that's going to happen?
Well, we have
to go to at least one of them.
Yeah, so a lot of them I can't mention.
Fair.
Now I understand. All these people always tell me they can't mention all these things, and now I'm one of those people. But we did find out today, and I looked into I won't be able to go, unfortunately. But it's going to be playing in Italy.
Oh wow!
At the Be Afraid Horror Fest.
Oh, cool!
Very exciting. That's in November,
and
they have a really cool poster with 3 hooded folk. But yeah, that's wild. And play there. I don't think we can mention any of the ones I know of that are playing in the States yet. But
will they be all over?
Huh?
Will they be in the 4 corners?
Yeah, they'll be several different places. Yeah,
that's cool. So people will have a chance, maybe.
Yes.
It's not like in Nebraska and that's it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few in major markets, and so yeah, I think no matter where you are, you'll be able to go. And then once it runs its course at the festivals, the hope is it'll be streaming, hopefully on a major streaming site, or it'll be streaming somewhere. And we also want a physical release eventually with both films together.
So if those are streaming, do they then get locked in together?
That's interesting. We actually had this conversation there, me, Michael, and Sophia, is right now they're playing they're a package deal, so they're both together. But once they start streaming, they won't be. like maybe they would both be on, but they wouldn't play to, they wouldn't be like you watch one and it goes right to the other. So
You have to seek out that.
yeah, which is interesting too, because I don't like if you watch the documentary, it would definitely lead you to go find End Zone 2.
Yeah.
But I think like End Zone 2 people might just watch as a 1970 slasher movie and not know of the other one. So it'll be interesting to see people's feedback, because now we're seeing their feedback when they watch both. And generally it's been very positive, but there have been split reviews where they actually really like End Zone 2 and they don't necessarily like the documentary, and vice versa. So that's interesting. And it'll be interesting to see people's feedback when they just watch them completely separate of each other.
So it sounds like this is a film that existed that a lot of like old school people are familiar with. And it's
Yeah, because you would have had this. I don't think there was ever a physical release of it. So you would had to have seen it, like at the drive-in or something.
That's crazy. That's cool. Restored gem. Sans 30 minutes for that poor guy.
Yeah, so I don't know if that will ever be found or not, but
It's very cool. So what else did you see? Any other? I know the whole festival thing is tough and you were time limited as well.
yeah. So I saw Torn Hearts, which I like that a lot too. That had Katie Seagal in it. That's her first horror film.
Oh, no kidding. Really?
I didn't know nothing about this movie going in. Michael and Sophia got us some tickets to films while I was like in the air coming to England, and one of them was Torn Hearts, and I was like, whatever, I'll go see anything. And so it was very cool that we get to see the Argento movie. And so I didn't know anything about Torn Hearts. I was like, oh, Torn Hearts, okay. And so we went into that, and so it's a movie about country singer duet, female country singer duet, and they seek out Katie Seagal, who is half of a famous country singing duet. It was sisters, and the one sister died. And so they find her and go to her house and try to convince her to do a song with them. And then bad things happen.
Interesting. That's such a strange, like, where does that go in horror?
Right.
Because it doesn't sound horrific. It's
Right.
a very interesting idea, premise, story. It's funny.
So they had a Q&A with the director, and she was saying this was Katie Seagal's first horror movie, so she was excited to do it.
Yeah.
She's really good. I mean, she's a good actress anyway. So
She's amazing. And ever since I heard the story from Danny Trejo about how awesome she is, like, she just went up in my estimation. So,
it's really cool for her, because so often when people have an iconic role with Peg Bundy, that's what they are, unfortunately.
but then wasn't she this big role in something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then Sons of Anarchy really, I think some people probably, just know her from that nowadays. So, and now she's got another role, so it's cool. And that one's already was picked up, I think, by Hulu.
Oh, cool.
So that will be on Hulu coming up soon.
Very cool.
The one thing was wild, and I do not know the name of it. This was a strange event. It was called the something. I've got to try to find the name. So it wasn't a movie. It was an event.
Oh.
And it was put together by I have to find these.
An event like a party, an event like
it was
a
in it was in the it was actually in the theater that our film played at. So it was this little smaller theater, it was the weirdest of the weird, because this was all weird people at this, but this was the real fringe people. Actually everyone in that theater was the other one had some more mainstream stuff, like Terrifier 2. Barbarian actually played there.
Did you get to see Terrifier 2?
I did not, but it played right before our movie, so it was almost impossible, because I went out with Emma and Tim for breakfast, and then we went out to a pub. That was much cooler than. And Terrifier 2 is great. It's getting a theatrical release in October.
That's exciting. But you were saying about this event with fringe people.
Yes. So this was put on by Evram Ersoy. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name, but Evram, I know one of the guys who runs Boston Underground Film Festival. And when I first went to Frightmare, in 2018, I think it was, I saw him there and I was like, oh wow, it's weird that he's there. But I didn't realize he helps run both festivals.
Oh, that's
I didn't
cool.
know that there was such a connection between Buff and
Yeah.
so he's a really cool guy. If you're at karaoke, he's always at karaoke and Buff. So he's the host of this, the Duke Mitchell Film Club. So
Write this down.
so it's a group on Facebook you can join, which I joined afterwards. I did not know about this. And so there's actually video of this. I'm just finding out.
Can you screen share it for the world?
So yeah, I don't know if I can share it. If we'll get, I doubt we. Well, I'll share the link.
Yeah.
So he's there, and he would bring up filmmakers that were in attendance, and previously they had picked weird videos. It was almost like when we would do the film nights.
Yeah.
Show weird clips of stuff.
That's cool.
So it's just all this wacky, it was crazy old commercials, clips of movies, just whatever bizarre video. There was a music video where they kept going into buttholes. It's just a bunch of bizarre, just bizarre.
Like one of those fractals, and you just keep going.
Yeah, because it was done with like a computer, and they just kept going, and it was like famous people bending over and going up their buttholes. So it was a very weird time, and it was just very fun, I have to say. And every filmmaker he came up that you had to drink. He did not. I told him I don't drink, so I didn't have to. But everyone was, you drink a shot of, you had your choice of whiskey, vodka. I don't think vodka, whiskey, rum, or something else. And so originally I wasn't, part of this, but Michael and Sophia were, and everyone was like, Neil, you come up too. Don't just sit there looking at your phone. So he made me come up on stage. That was very nice of him. And their clip was some like weird like Italian barbarian movie or something. I don't know. It was very strange, but everything was strange. So this was I think it's something you really would have to be there, to enjoy, because you're also watching it with all fellow weirdos and you're just having a good time.
You have a watch party.
Yeah.
Like we used to have.
It was like a virtual watch party in person.
Yeah. So who's Duke Mitchell?
I don't know who Duke Mitchell is, to be honest.
I'm like, I feel like this is a name I should know because there it is. So I don't know. I'm feeling ignorant.
Yeah, Duke Mitchell. Strange Film Nights in London, bringing you the best of obscure films since 2007. So they must do this normally. I don't think it's always done this way, but
That sounds
this is a special thing they do at Frightfest. So just a wonderful time.
Awesome.
Yeah, great time. Great people. Met a lot of cool people. Met people I know. Met people for the first time. Just a really good experience. I stayed in a weird room, the assembly. It was billed as windowless and soundproof. Michael and Sophia's didn't have a window. Mine actually did have a window.
Weird.
Which just looked overhead on top of like a building. And it was not soundproof because I could hear people doing whatever they're doing. And the room, look, it was clean. It had a bed, it had a bathroom, and it had hangers. So I was
had a bunny.
But yeah, no table, no chairs, no coffee machine.
But a giant stuffed bunny.
A big. It was like a hard bunny.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
It was giant. It was like the size of a dog.
Giant pink bunny. Dog. It had belts on the bedpost. I don't know what was going on.
Was this supposed to be like a rental for people's good times? Is that what you were hearing in these other rooms?
That's
what this place was.
A big pink glowing light pole in the corner of the room. It was a pretty wild place.
I know someone who has this weird sleep sack. So if you're like creeped out by sleeping in foreign beds, I think maybe the sleep sack would have been the way to go. Not touch any of the things.
I will say this: perfect location. It was. So I took the tube, which, by the way, if you're familiar with the T, which thanks to Annabelle I am, the tube is basically a T, only much bigger. So the T from Heathrow to Leicester Square. You literally walk outside and you could see the hotel right across the street, like
Wow.
not even probably like a minute. Directly, honestly, right across the street, it's there. And it was right around the corner from the theater. Perfect
Wow.
location.
Wow.
Right around from the casino, which Chris, really good guy. I'd met him before at Buffalo, but he hung out with us. And so
The casino, like Foxwoods, like
yeah, it was
Encore?
what is the let me find the name of this casino.
It's so weird to me. I don't think of England and think of.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of
yeah.
casinos.
That's
when you just
interesting.
walk around.
Weird.
So and it's a really old, because a lot of stuff in England's old, obviously. So it's a really old building, and then it's made into a casino. So it's small, but it's 5 stories. And all the steps are very, like, the old steps are very, like, the steps are short.
Narrow.
Yeah. And so we kept going up because we were looking for a bar for all of us to sit at. And all of them were close. We finally got to the very top. And so we were outside, but everyone was having cold drinks, and I drank sparkling water. But it was a good time. the Hippodrome.
Hippodrome.
So originally I was just going to go at night by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris saw, he's like, well, I'm going to go. I was like, all right, cool. And then Michael and Sophia ended up going, and neither of them had ever gambled.
Oh, wow.
And so we didn't want to do the tables, because if you don't know what you're doing, people get mad.
Yeah.
So we played electric roulette, which each roulette wheel that you sat at had its own spin, and the balls came out, which was actually very fun. And so Sophia cleaned up. She's had a
Really?
system. Her system was she would pick random red numbers. And so we all put 10 pounds in, and she got to 20 pounds in no time. And then she got up to 40, and Mike was like, we got to cash out. And she's like, well, I'm going to get up to 100. She got up to 100, 104. And he's like, so she played the 4. And as soon as it was down to 100, Michael was cashing her out.
You've created a monster.
Michael says I ruined Sophia by showing her. And Sophia's like, I want to keep going and get to 1,000. But
wow.
if you bet an extra pound, which was like $1, but these ones had this 888 thing. So if you get an 8, you get another spin, and if you get a second 8, you win 500 pounds.
Wow.
And if you get a third 8, it was 10,000 pounds, and then a fourth 8 was like 750,000 pounds. But this is like really impossible. So I actually spun the 8, and then it all lit up, and I got the other spin, and it spun like 36. But then you think about, it's like 1 in 36 to get the 8, maybe, and then maybe even harder because you get to count in the 0. So 1 in 38, and then to get 2 in a row, that's 38 times 38. So your odds are like, as soon as I was saying that, this young woman next to me got the 8, and then spun the second 8 and won the 500 pounds.
Good for her.
Right when I was saying it was like basically impossible.
So a thought for life.
Right. So I wanted to go back there because the steakhouse in there was voted the best steakhouse in London.
Wow.
But I didn't got a chance. I do wish I would have stayed longer, even just to hang out in London.
Another time.
Yeah. So it was I had big breakfast. I had black pudding for the first time, which wasn't very good. But
not something they do in New England.
No, that's true. They do in Pennsylvania. They call it there. They call it black pudding. It sounds a little nicer. I know in Pennsylvania it's just called blood sausage. They get right to the point.
We have this second interview. This our previous.
Yeah. So Fabio Frizzi is starting now. So we're gonna take off. I want to thank Annabelle for coming on. It's been very fun to catch up with.
Thank you for.
I mean, I see you
show up today.
Yeah. But no, this is great. It'll be cool if you. I know you can't do it all the time, but every once in a while it'll be fun to pop on.
Yeah, it would be great. I would really like that. So cool. All right. Well, it's been nice, and I hope everybody enjoys this next interview. I thought it was fantastic. He was so cool and easy to talk with and happy, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah. All right.
Enjoy.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon, and I'll see you Sunday.
All right. Bye.